Next, Dion Waiters, one of the most unintentionally hilarious players in NBA history, out of Syracuse, combo guard. He was picked fourth overall by the Cleveland Cavaliers, and he is not on any basketball team, I don't think, at this point. He's not officially retired either. So who did you have the Cavs picking fourth here?
Yeah, I mean, you gotta take Bradley Beal here, right? Like if you're looking for a bucket getter, and that's what Dion Waiters was supposed to be. Bradley Beal is a bucket getter. He's he's been an all NBA All Star 3 times. He's even made an All NBA team once. So I think you put that guy with Kyrie, and then LeBron comes over, and maybe LeBron wins maybe a few more titles with Bradley Beal on this team versus Dion Waiters maybe. So yeah, I think Beal bucket getter. Like people forget he was a baller back in the day, right? Like if you look at his career averages, he averaged 21.5 points per game, and this is considering his tenure with the Suns, the last like 2 years where he's like put up like maybe 10 points a game. So he was getting buckets. He could get assists, rebounds, steals. Like he was doing it. He wasn't elite on any of those things, but he was a guy that could be your secondary ball handler and score buckets, and that's what Bradley Beal was. And clearly, I think he's probably the fourth best player in this draft.
Yeah, I think the opinion on him soured pretty quickly in Phoenix, but I want to say at the time when they got him, it was like that's it. That's all they had to give up to get Bradley Beal, who is, like you said, a secondary ball handler, a great scoring option. He's just not that guy anymore, and that's fine. He's in his mid 30s. So I actually did not pick Bradley Beal here. I went with Khris Middleton, who is another second round pick. So I think this is going to be a bit of a theme in this draft. We talked about it before we hit record that this was not a great draft, but it was a great second round. The second round is chock full of talent. And I think as we go through, I don't know who you picked, but I can assume some of the guys that you have in your top 14 here. But yeah, I went with Khris Middleton. He's an NBA champion. He's had a lot of injuries in the past couple of years, and now he's on the Wizards, unfortunately. But he was a huge part of that Milwaukee run. Obviously, good enough to be the second, maybe third best player. I think he was better than Drew Holiday in that title run. But capable of having huge games. That was probably the peak of his career, was around that run. Kobe-esque at times with his mid-range game and offensive game. He's a good defender, not a great defender. And I think him on this team, eventually when LeBron would come to town, would have made them even more formidable. They already had some good wings with J.R. Smith and Iman Shumpert, but maybe, he ends up getting traded for that Kevin Love pick. But when Andrew Wiggins got drafted. But still, I think he would have made more sense here than Bradley Beal and would have given them some more athleticism and stuff on the wing. What do you think?
I don't mind it, Khalid. I don't mind it. I like Khris Middleton. So, but I just feel like they want a guy who can score. And, they were going after
I
Dion
mean,
Waiters
Middleton
type.
can
Bradley
score.
Beal is Middleton can score. Yeah,
Middleton
yeah,
can
he's
score.
good. I liked him. I liked him. But I feel like Middleton's window was a little bit smaller than Bradley Beal's. Like he had like a window of like 4 or 5 years where he was really good, and then he kind of fell off because of injuries and stuff like that. Where versus like Beal just more recently fell off.
Yeah, it also took him a little bit longer to get started.
Yeah,
I mean, he's a
for
second
sure.
round
Yeah,
pick, which is normal, right? You're not getting the same opportunities I think he was 30 overall. So obviously you're not getting the same runway as somebody that went third or sixth or seventh or whatever, like Bradley Beal or Dion Waiters. All right. So we're varying quite a bit in our picks, which is nice. I think that's probably the benefit of this being not a great draft is there's just a lot of variance. It's not like there's five players that are better than everybody else. So fifth overall, the Sacramento Kings, who have a history of terrible lottery picks with yet another one. They draft power forward Thomas Robinson out of Kansas. He is currently playing basketball in Puerto Rico. I think with DeMarcus Cousins, even though DeMarcus got suspended recently. But yeah, he's playing in Puerto Rico. So who did you have the Kings picking fifth here? I think this is where the draft gets real stinky.
yeah. It's starting to get that way, Khalid. But I took Khris Middleton here, so I wasn't far behind you with on the Khris Middleton pick. I think it's funny because we just kind of flip flop guys here. Yeah, and I would have maybe considered Andre Drummond here, but the Kings have DeMarcus Cousins, so that's a really hard fit. Having two bigs that can't shoot like I mean Boogie could shoot, but like having two bigs like that is kind of hard, especially as the NBA starts gravitating towards faster pace, shooting threes, things like that. Middleton absolutely would have been a great fit here with the Kings. and gives them, a second level scorer next to DeMarcus Cousins. I think they still have Tyreek Evans at this point, but
They do, sure do.
yeah, yeah. I think he was coming. Is he coming off like he's 3 years removed? But this is the time where he's about to just go right over the hill. So he
Yeah,
easily replaced
shortly.
Tyreek on that.
Yeah, shortly before he's included. I think he's in that the trade to New Orleans, or maybe he ends
New
up on New
Orleans,
Orleans. I
yeah,
forget exactly what
something like
happened.
that.
Before I give my pick, so I told you that I had met two of the players from this draft in very random circumstances. So this was in 2015 in Philadelphia when Thomas Robinson was on the Sixers. I met him at a movie theater on Columbus Boulevard on the east side of Philadelphia, a famous movie theater. I forget what movie we were watching. I don't think we were watching the same movie, but ran into him in the lobby. You see this, 6'10" dude covered in tattoos, and you're like, I think you play basketball. So I just went up to him, said, "What's up?" I like looked him up real quick. I was like, "I think this is Thomas Robinson." But I had to, verify. Nice guy. Didn't take a picture with him or anything, but just, gave him a dap and said, "Hey, man, nice to meet you." Very nice guy. Had a very attractive girl with him, so good for him.
Yeah.
I ended up picking Bradley Beal here. So yeah, like you said, we swapped picks. I think this would have gone really well with, again, DeMarcus Cousins. They had Tyreek Evans before his fall off. This was Isaiah Thomas's second year, coming into his second year. So all of a sudden you're looking at not quite a backcourt, but an offensive line or offensive lineup of Boogie, Isaiah Thomas, Tyreek, and then you throw Bradley Beal in there, and you're like, all right. I think John Salmons would have been their starting power forward. Maybe not. Doesn't matter at this point. But again, the ceiling is not that much higher, but it would have been really fun. Again, Bradley Beal, a lot of people are down on him now, but early in his career, he was a bucket, and I think he would have been pretty exciting with the team that they had in Sacramento. All right, still the draft is still good. Well, maybe not with the guys that we have left, but at least the actual picks were still good. So Damian Lillard goes 6th overall out of Weber State. I believe that's in Michigan. I forget. Maybe Ohio. Who knows? Anyway, he goes 6th overall to the Blazers, and he is currently on the Bucks, though I don't know how long it's going to take for him to play basketball again after tearing his Achilles in the recent playoffs. But he's obviously off the board for both of us. So who did you have the Blazers picking here?
Yeah, I ended up going Andre Drummond here. Surprisingly, I didn't realize Andre Drummond actually had made an All NBA team one time in his career. Couple of All Stars, and he's led the NBA in rebounding. So I think the Blazers later in this draft also take like Myers Leonard, so who also was a lottery pick. So they're clearly looking for a big to put next to LaMarcus Aldridge, and I think Drummond kind of gives them that big that can defend the paint, rebound, all the things that LaMarcus Aldridge didn't want to do, even though he's big enough to do it. Drummond gets to do all that. And if you look at Drummond's career averages, he's a double-double guy. He's 12 and a half points per game and 12 rebounds per game. So 1.3 blocks and 1.3 steals. So pretty good player. I think you put him next to the LaMarcus Aldridge, and that becomes pretty interesting. But obviously, it was a combo of Dame and LaMarcus, and then CJ McCollum later that made the Blazers work. But that's another interesting piece there for the Blazers with Dame off the board.
I like the pick. I think it makes sense. I ended up going with Harrison Barnes. So Harrison Barnes went, I think, just the next pick to the Warriors. Uh, he's it's really hard to pin the guy down as like who is Harrison Barnes as an NBA player. Like, he's been around for a long time. He's made a lot of money. He's been on I think this is like his 5th team now. I think he's on the Spurs now, right? So this is his 5th or 6th team. He's bounced around. I feel like he had all the physical tools to be an all NBA player, but just never had the right mentality, never had like the killer instinct. I think he never progressed past like the uber athlete that he was when he first came in, which kind of sounds like a Jonathan Kuminga. Maybe I'm talking about the same guy here. But anyway, yeah, I went with Harrison Barnes. This team was pretty good offensively. Obviously, that you included Dame, but they had a lot of wings at the time. I think later in this draft, they also get Will Barton in the second round. But I think it would have made for a pretty athletic front court of Harrison Barnes, Nick Batum when he was still young, and LaMarcus Aldridge before he begged out and went to San Antonio. So I think Harrison Barnes does make sense here. He's not like a culture changer by any means, the same way Dame is. They still would have been looking for a point guard, but I think he makes sense from a fit perspective. What do you think?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I like it. I can see it. I think we're gonna have another case of the flip flop picks here again.